as well. So I think in this case, it's the timing is great because it allows Kevin Byard to say, "Hey, look, man, I took one for the team." You know what I mean? And that's something that just kind of, in my opinion, goes on to further prove like Rand Carthon and what he's able to do. Because again, everybody dogged him for the idea, but now look, it's going to lead to something fruitful for them adding a couple other players.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's what teams do all the time. That's why I call the cap, you can manipulate it, and that's exactly what they've done. You can push money down the road. It's kind of like a credit card. You're deferring payment, essentially, is what you're doing. You eventually have to pay it. That's what makes it real. But, it's that's what teams do all the time. So, Rand Carthon and his crew able to get that done. Is everything like, because clearly this is going to come up because Kevin Byard's going to speak next week. I assume Carthon's going to speak next week to open training camp. So that they're going to be asked about this. And it's like, is everybody cool, or are we going to hear it's a business and this is what we have to do and, yada, yada, yada. Now, Byard will but Byard will take the road of, listen, I just want this to be a great team. I'm trying to make this team better, do my part. D-Hop's going to be a great player. And he already went on ESPN radio and talked about that. Like he talked about adding D-Hop to the room and how big of a deal that is. And then TD mentions George Fant, which is somebody they're going to try out to work out tomorrow. Former offensive tackle. I think he's been with the Seahawks and the Jets. Somebody that they're probably going to bring in, and he's going to be the right tackle with Nicholas Petit-Frere out. So, yeah, you got to move money around to make all that work. I get it. But I just find it ironic that we spent an entire offseason talking about the disrespect for Kevin Byard being asked to take a pay cut, and ultimately he's the one that takes the pay cut to make all this work. Even though you can sit here and you can say it's a restructure, he took a pay cut. That's what this is. Now, whether he gets it back or not, I guess is up to him and how easy they made it for him. But it's kind of funny at the end of the day.
Yeah, and, going back to the Bussin' with the Boys clip when Kevin Byard said he restructures doing Clowney came to town, and then when Robert Woods came to town, like, both of those are two different scenarios. DeAndre Hopkins, this is a whole nother different scenario where it could actually pan out for the better. Those other two signings didn't really pan out for the Titans' favor. So I think this is definitely a different scenario for sure. But at the same time, you do make a good point, Chase. Why is it KB? Why can't it be somebody else?
Well, okay, so you just made a great point too, because it's like the other two times that he did this, it didn't work. So if I'm him, I'm like, why are you asking me to do this for a third time? Clearly you haven't been able to get this right. Why do you keep coming to me? Go to Jeff. Go to somebody else. Go to Harold Landry. Go to Derek. Why do you keep coming to me?
Number one person on the list for me is Harold Landry. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, phenomenal player. You're coming off a knee injury. Like that's going to be the problem for me. If you're coming off an injury and you're getting paid, six figures? Yeah, sure. You deserve to have some sort of pay cut or some sort of restructure.
Well, I hope he's getting more than six figures, but I know what you mean.
You know what I mean, yeah. I'm just saying, though, like if somebody's getting paid that buku money, they should be, being able to restructure it somehow and not have KB take the run of all this terrible incident.
And let me say this, I am on Kevin Byard's side. I think he's a tremendous human being, and he's showing it, and he's a hell of a teammate that he's now done this for the third time. Like Caleb says on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com, we don't deserve Byard. Dude is an absolute legend for doing that for the team 3 times. I could not agree more. I mean, but I guess that's my and the thing that kind of stinks here is I could sit there at the press conference and ask Rand Carthon, why do you keep going to KB and asking him to do these things? And he can look at me and go, well, this is the first time that I've asked KB to do that. You have the cop-out of, well, I wasn't here, so I don't know what happened in the past. It's like, okay, but why is it always him? Because, I mean, this whole situation that happened, in the offseason, in the spring and everything, doesn't make me think he went to them and go, hey, whatever I got to do to help the team, if I need to, take a pay cut or restructure or whatever, I got you. I don't feel like that happened. So how did we get to this point? Maybe we'll know, maybe we won't. It ultimately isn't going to matter. And look, D-Hop is different. D-Hop is different from Robert Woods, who was coming off a torn ACL, and Jadeveon Clowney, who, I liked that move at the time, but and I liked the Robert Woods move. I mean, I liked both moves. And I can't remember if it was they traded for Woods, but I do feel like that had, or Julio. Maybe it was Julio. I don't remember.
Traded for Julio, and
Tannehill was the one that did the restructure for Julio.
Yes, I think so.
So I mean, look, that's another one. And I know I think Derek's done some restructures too. So it's not just KB, but it just feels like now that this is the third time that you've gone to him and asked him to take one for the team, it's just like, okay, well, there are other people that can do that. So
now, I'm not trying to play negative Nelly here, but if D-Hop doesn't seem to pan out and KB ends up hitting his incentives, whose fault is it in the long run of this? That's my number one question.
No, it's the Titans' fault.
I know it's the Titans' fault, but who's pointing which finger at a specific person?
I'm pointing at
Carthon?
I'm pointing at the G. Well, no, I'm pointing at Vrabel and Carthon because, and again, this is where they'll get themselves in trouble. If all that happens, and I'm hoping it doesn't, and I don't think it will, but if it does, this is when you're going to get yourself in trouble because you haven't defined. You're doing this whole collaboration thing. Well, guess what? I got 2 pointer fingers, so they're going at 2 different people. That's how it'll be. But I hope we don't have to have that conversation. Coming up next, Joe Rexrode, of course, one half of Robbie and Rexrode mornings from 6 to 9 here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, is going to join us, get his thoughts on this, plus SEC Media Days. That's all ahead here on the Chase McCabe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
When it comes to Nashville sports,
locking up Jeffrey Simmons, clearly that was a priority for them.
He knows his stuff.
A little bit good, a little bit bad.
And knows how to push the right buttons.
He's coming off an ACL tear, and he's 25 years old, so you cannot ignore that.
Join Outkick's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company. Withrow.
What I hate more than anything is people that are phony and not true to themselves.
Is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Gypsy Kings featuring Tonino Baliardo return to Nashville with a concert that will take you on a trip down memory lane. The Gypsy Kings will be performing their greatest hits November 4th at TPAC Andrew Jackson Hall. For you to dance and enjoy an unforgettable night. Tickets on sale through ToninoBaliardo.com. A Loud and Live production.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
In 1972, a Nashville family business story began when Bill and Beverly Finley founded Volunteer Hose and Gasket. 3 generations have grown the business into the local industry leader supplying just about anything to anybody, from the largest of contractors to your neighbor that mows his own yard. Over 1 million items in stock: belts, belting accessories, gaskets, gauges, hose fittings, hydraulics, industrial hoses, lubricants, sealing products, tubing, fire protection, and more. All at volunteerhose.net. If Volunteer Hose and Gasket doesn't have it, then you probably don't need it. Call them at 615-242-0461.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, forhims.com/joy. That's forhims.com/joy for your free online visit. forhims.com/JOY.
Hey, do you need to listen on the go? Download the Game Nashville app from your app store today, and you can listen to us anywhere in the world. It's that simple. What an age we live in.
Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. The Suit is in the building.
3-hour lunch, 3-hour lunch, 3-hour lunch.
3 hours. Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Nick Frazier on the ones and twos this morning. Let's say hello to Joe Rexrode, one half of Robbie and Rexrode, also from The Athletic, who is probably like me. I mean, just ready for this week to be done. Long week, SEC Media Days. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Chase, and yes, I am. I got to say, we actually ended up only doing the show one time from Radio Row, but not my favorite. It's not my favorite, but it was cool still, and I feel like people who came to Nashville had a blast. So, we know every time there's something in the city's going to knock it out of the park. It's just that particular event is just low on my list.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, it's there's a lot that goes into it, and we'll get to that in a few minutes and some things that came out of that. But the news coming out this morning, Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network reporting that Kevin Byard has restructured his contract, going to take him down to $11 million base, but the incentives can get him back to $14 million. And I heard the reaction from you and Robbie this morning. I have a similar one. We were just talking about it. I mean, I know there are incentives, but to me, after all of this and all of this discussion in the offseason, it sounds like he took a pay cut.
Yeah, for sure. And without knowing exactly, like what's the nature of the incentives and things like that, for sure, it's a pay cut. I think restructure is not a term that Rappaport should use because that's so identified now with just, with restructuring without having a penalty, in the NFL, in the world of the flexible existing cap. But one thing about this for sure, I think, is it's coming here at a time with the Titans making a huge signing and then also potentially doing another one, both critical, if they can get George Fant also to help the offensive line. So, this seems to be, just timing-wise, it seems to be tied to that, which is, like we were talking about earlier on the show, it's like that's a time when it's worth a shot, someone in terms of taking a pay cut or whatever you can do with their contract, because it's like, look, this guy coming in can really help us. And Byard has done previous restructures, but those, of course, were not pay cuts.
Right. And so that's where this one just feels different. And the little rant I went on, and I know that Tannehill's restructured, and I think Henry's done one. I mean, we're not getting into the whole fake cap thing, but moving money around, you can manipulate it. I mean, we all know that.
Yes.
It feels like they're always going to Byard, though. This is now the third time he's done this, and so it's like we go through this whole thing in the offseason, and now you're doing it again. I don't get it. I mean, I hope it all works out, and I guess everybody's cool, but it's going to come up next week when everybody talks.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what he has to say about it, because when he talked in the spring, it was clear that he wasn't happy. It was clear that, well, I shouldn't say that. Not that at the time he wasn't happy, but it was clear that it bothered him to some extent, and I totally get that. Now, but I will say, Chase, like in terms of always going to Byard, I mean, I think sometimes that just has to do with like what your contract is, right? I mean, he had just signed a big deal, a lot of money, and so a lot of times those are the contracts that get messed with. So again, it's like I don't look at the previous ones really as sacrifices. This one, though, is. This one is a sacrifice. And I hypothesize on this, and I could be totally off the mark, but I do look at certainly I look at Derrick Henry this way. I think Derrick Henry, and I know right now he's in this running back conversation, and he's upset about it, and I get it. But I think, the reality for Derrick Henry, if he goes into the market a year from now, even if he has a really good season, I think it's not going to be to his liking. I think he fits this place, this offense, everything like it. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. And I don't think it's the same exact thing with Byard, because he could be, effective safety, I think, in just about any defense. But he's getting older. And I just look at this, I just wonder if there's a little bit of like this leads to, maybe a better opportunity for him to be on this team and paid next year. Again, I'm just speculating on that. But as I think about what went through his head and what the conversations were, I wonder if that's part of it in some way.
Joe Rexrode is with us here on the Chase McCabe Show. So George Fant, as you alluded to earlier, is going to come in for a workout tomorrow. My guess is they get that done with Nicholas Petit-Frere being out for the first 6 games. Fant's out there. I mean, he hasn't signed with anybody. So how do you view this? I mean, it's obviously a need, but could it in some ways be an upgrade?
I mean, maybe. You get into the 30s and you got a guy who's had knee stuff. That's where you're concerned, and that's probably a lot of the reason why he's available right now. Anytime you can just go get someone right now, you wonder, why is that? But he has been a pretty good player, so I think it's possible it's an upgrade. But that's also, like, if Petit-Frere isn't better when he comes back, and I expect him to be. I expect him just – I expect Petit-Frere to be a pretty solid right tackle. I think he had ups and downs as a rookie, as you might expect. I did not come away discouraged from last season overall with him. I do think that he got a little rougher later, but I think Petit-Frere is on a trajectory of being a solid player. So if Fant's healthy, he's certainly athletic. That's first of all, I think it's key to have a third tackle you feel good about, and that's the thing. I mean, without knowing exactly where Jalen Duncan's going to end up or how quickly he may be ready. I mean, right now there's a lot of question because Jamarco Jones hasn't been able to stay healthy. So I think it's an important signing either way. And then it's great to me if Fant's good enough that there's a question when Petit-Frere comes back about who starts. I mean, if there's any question, that probably means the whole offensive line is playing okay. And obviously the Titans need that. The Titans get decent play from the O-line. That's an upgrade. And I think with what they have now in the skill positions, I think that could lead to certainly an improved offensive performance.
Talking with Joe Rexrode. So SEC Media Day is in the books. And today it feels like everybody's talking about Lane Kiffin's comments saying that college football is, quote, a disaster right now. Now, I don't think he's necessarily off base on some things, but it's ironic coming from him, and that has been the backlash, is that, it's interesting that Lane Kiffin is the one that's saying this when he's been popped for cheating a couple of times. What did you make of his comments?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's the part of it that and also, just with any coach, who works at a job like he works or gets paid the kind of money, he can move around however he pleases and get paid, go where the most money is. I think if Ole Miss has a good year and Lane Kiffin is attractive to, a bigger school with a bigger budget, I think there's a real chance that, Ole Miss ends up looking like a stepping stone for him. So there is that. But I will say this, Chase, I still appreciate, even though there's some hypocrisy involved in that, I still actually appreciate any coach like Tim Corbin. I heard Corbin with you, great interview last week. And, I appreciate and it's a different situation, but it's the same in that so many coaches are so afraid to just say what they think about this stuff. Certainly, people are going to use it against you, recruiting poison, all that stuff. I appreciate a coach saying what he actually thinks. I don't agree with it necessarily. I appreciate, Tim Corbin saying what he thinks, because people are going to poke holes in that from the Tim Corbin perspective in terms of, you're giving the kids too much to handle with the money. They're like, well, they should get money. And I agree they should, but there is that side of it. And there are unintended consequences, and there are kids being taken advantage of because they're getting told fake numbers. And anybody out there can say they're an agent. And there are some things that need to happen, not guardrails in terms of a cap, but some kind of formalizing of the process so everybody knows the situation and the playing field. And so from that perspective, I'm all the way in with anyone complaining about that. It is too out of control in some ways.
Yeah, it's 100% out of control. But and this is the tough part to be like, if I was a head coach, I don't know if I really would know what to do, because Kiffin even said in his comments that, yeah, I mean, we take advantage of it because that's kind of what we have to do right now. But if you want to, isn't that part of the problem and not part of the solution?
Yeah, well, exactly. That's the thing. It's like, yeah, I mean, and
it's like,
just
hey,
like,
this sucks. We need to change this, but we're going to keep doing it until somebody tells us that we have to change it.
Like, well, I'm certainly you can't afford to not evaluate other people's rosters and be looking to add to your roster from other people's rosters, because they're looking at yours. So there's no doubt. I mean, look, it's just like before all this stuff, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Anytime like Alabama, or Auburn lost the recruiting battle to Alabama, or Tennessee lost recruiting battle to Georgia, coaches in the losing side were complaining about cheating, but at the same time, they know they have to do the same thing to have any chance with some prospect. So, yeah, it's exactly. I mean, if you're in it, you got to do it, and that's also that's not going to stop.
No. Joe Rexroad is with us. Josh Heupel speaks yesterday. He did address the penalties, and I thought he did a nice job navigating those waters because, I mean, you knew it was going to come up, but it wasn't his watch. It's just something that he has to deal with. But overall, what did you make of Josh Heupel's comments and the Vols going into this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think Josh Heupel, so I had a different day because I followed Joe Milton around. So that put me in the other side that's usually just cut off to like SEC Network or ESPN people, or CBS too. Well, CBS for one more year. So one, I got to see like a lot of Heupel too back there. They're all going through all these different rooms. And one thing I do notice with Heupel is, I think he's just really like a lot more at ease and comfortable and things like that. And like when he says something like, "Yeah, there's only one UT, one shade of orange," like I love that stuff. Like I think he's kind of earned a little bit of confidence because of the performance. But yeah, I think he said all the right things and and navigated everything correctly. I think that I think it's interesting, kind of also seeing even like the Milton Heupel dynamic. I mean, like Milton's ripping on like his musical tastes and things like that, and watching Heupel kind of hang out with Marty and McGee like way after they were done taping and just kind of BSing with those guys and stuff. He just he's got an air about him. I'm not saying he was like not confident, but he's not a guy who likes to talk a lot, right? I mean, he doesn't love interviews, stuff like that. Like, look, yesterday Milton got more requests, like way more, I think, than Heupel did. And I don't think you see that too often, with any player or a head coach, unless you're talking like superstar player. So I think that kind of speaks to both guys. But, yeah, Heupel he's done tremendous work under the circumstances. Now the circumstances are over. He doesn't have to worry anymore. Every single recruit he's talked to since he took the job, some other coach and probably a lot of other coaches were like, "Hey, man, they're going to get 2-year postseason ban." I mean, it's BS, but that's what people do in the recruiting trail. Well, that's over now. That's done. And he's still recruiting well. So what does that mean moving forward? He seems like a guy who's feeling pretty good about things.
I would say so. Real quick, because I didn't exactly hear you say this, and I know it's kind of gone around. Clarify your playoff comments in the next 10 years with the expanded playoff and how many playoffs you think the Vols will make.
I got the Vols making 4 of the first 10 12-team playoffs. And I think that's ambitious. And like Robbie thinks I'm probably a little high, but like Caroline and Jared acted like and they're both like, well, they've never even made one. I'm like, yeah, they haven't made a 4-team playoff. I think the trajectory is that they're going to be right in the neighborhood, knocking on the door most years. So yeah, you put me down for 4.
I don't think that's completely crazy. Is there a national championship in there somewhere?
Well, I don't know. That's the thing. It's like I still have to kind of believe it, see it to believe it when it comes to them having rosters at the level of Georgia and Ohio State and the like, Like, you still have to get to another level of recruiting for that. Now, I do think a great quarterback, is Nico in year 3, like a top 10 pick type player, and is that then, and while the roster has continued to get better, I think they could build up to some years when you have that great quarterback, and I think they're going to keep recruiting, quarterbacks. But I still, right now, I still have to see him get them to that level, or see a quarterback along with the roster at a good, because we saw what Georgia did them last year. Like, Hendon Hooker was a Heisman front runner, but mano y mano across that field, Georgia just kicked their butt. I mean, that's right. 2 straight years. They just kicked their butt. They're not at that level. So I would not predict a national championship right now, but this sport is going to be judged just like it is now, but it's going to be judged moving forward. Is like, are you in that tournament or are you out of the tournament? I think they're going to be in it quite a bit.
All right, good stuff, Joe. Hey, appreciate it. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you Monday.
Okay, thanks, buddy.
Joe Rexroad. Robbie and Rexroad morning 6 to 9, and also does a fantastic job writing for The Athletic. We'll continue this discussion on the Vols. That's that next. Chase McCabe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The offseason is in full swing, but there's no slowing down ESPN's Teron Davenport.
The flow of information.
He talks the talk.
Spears gives you that guy that can still hit the home run.
And walks the walk.
As a run blocker, he's going to murder a linebacker at the second level.
On everything Titans, TD is on Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, Friday mornings at 8, and anytime on the Talkin' with TD podcast. TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We're changing the game. Help your bets stay hot this summer at Superbook Sports, the most trusted name in sports betting with a direct line to Las Vegas. Right now, when you use my promo code CHASE, C-H-A-S-E, you can score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, Superbook will match your first bet up to $250 by using my name as the promo code CHASE, C-H-A-S-E. Right now, SEC Championship for on Superbook Sports, Tennessee at plus 1,600, so is Texas A&M. The favorite, of course, is Georgia at minus 110. Alabama at plus 250, LSU plus 450. You can get it all right there on the Superbook Sports app. Download the Superbook Sports app, enter the promo code CHASE, and you'll get $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Back here, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, talking about the professional bull riders, Stampede Days, of course, coming to our city in about a month, and the head coach, Justin McBride, is on the line with us. And, Justin, your season is about to kick off here in a matter of days, but I know you got to be looking forward to Nashville.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Yeah, we're finally getting to kick it off in Cheyenne next Monday, Tuesday. But, yeah, I mean, definitely looking forward to getting back to Nashville. And the best event of the season, man, Stampede Day.
So what are you looking for in this first event when you're in Cheyenne? Is there knocking some rust off, so to speak, from last year? Or what stands out that you need to see?
Yeah, I think it's a few different things. Knocking the rust off, not in the terms of the riding, but just in terms of guys crawling back in that bubble. Being able to ignore really the outside world and nothing else matters other than that team. You know, that's one thing. It'll take a little time to really get back in that groove, I feel like. It's starting to come together pretty good at the practices. And then also, like at the first event in Cheyenne, we're gonna try some guys out in the lineup that typically aren't in there, and we'll probably, as the year progresses, they'll probably play more of a backup role. But in this first event, they're going to get some opportunities.
Well, and that kind of leads me into my next question of, Pacheco's a guy that we've talked about over the course of the last couple of years, but who are some other guys that you're expecting to maybe take a step forward?
Yeah, Pacheco, of course. That's our rock, and he's a guy happened to heal up off a broken leg. So just trying to get him healthy right now. But Dinner Barbosa is actually a guy we drafted last year, had a broken back. People were kind of looking at us like, what the heck are y'all doing? But he's a world-class bull rider. Didn't get to compete in teams last year. We've got him this year, and so I'm really excited to see what Dinner can bring to the team.
So it's literally a month from today. You'll be in Nashville for Stampede Days, August 18th through the 20th. You can get your tickets, Ticketmaster.com, NashvilleStampede.com. Justin, it's almost here and looking forward to it.
Yes, sir, man. We cannot wait to get out there.
Well, thanks so much for doing this. We'll talk to you next week.
Brother.
Justin McBride, the head coach, Nashville Stampede. Stampede Days coming back to Bridgestone Arena August 18th through the 20th. Again, NashvilleStampede.com, Ticketmaster.com. That is how you can get your tickets to this great event.
Hey guys, it's Mike at Newton Chevrolet GMC in Shelbyville. It's finally starting to warm up out there, right? You know what that means. Warmer temperatures mean the need for AC units to be ready to go. Is your car's AC unit not keeping up with the summer sun? Or are you relying on the open windows to keep you cooled off? Maybe it's time for an upgrade. And we've got you covered like sunscreen on a lifeguard's nose. If you're looking for a reliable pre-owned car, we've got over 75 of them starting under $17,000. And most of our used vehicles are covered with Newton certified pre-owned warranty so that you'll even have more peace of mind. If you want more of an upgrade, our new car selection of Chevys and GMCs is waiting for you. From trucks to reliable SUVs and everything in between. If you want a new Chevy Silverado, the savings start at $5,000 off. So shop our selection today. Don't keep sweating your way through summer. Get a great AC upgrade from Newton Chevrolet GMC in Shelbyville. Visit NewtonChevroletGMC.com today. That's NewtonChevroletGMC.com. Every car comes with an AC unit, but the windows do roll down automatically if you prefer that warm summer breeze in your hair.
Hey, it's Jared. Want to tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Hiller is keeping you chilling all summer with special deals to keep you relaxed and happy this summer. Tackle those necessary home system replacements this month to take advantage of these special deals. When you purchase a select new HVAC system, you'll get 2 Yeti Trailhead camping chairs, a Yeti Panga 28L waterproof backpack, a Yeti Tundra 75, and 2 Yeti tumblers for free. And get special freebies on Yeti products with every new whole home generator or tankless water heater purchase. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Get a great deal on select Kubota equipment, the #1 rated tractor brand for durability and owner experience in the U.S. The versatile lineup is built to help you make the most of your land. Right now at participating dealers, get a Kubota compact tractor for 0 down, 0% APR for 84 months, plus save up to $800 on qualifying implements. Now through September 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com/disclaimers for full disclaimer.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series tonight against Jacksonville.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win.
Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Bring it on, Chop. Let's go.
You're listening to Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Hey, tune in for Nashville Sounds Baseball tonight at 6:35 and 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds take on the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan is presented by 312 Pizza Company, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure. I took in a little bit of the Sounds game last night at First Horizon Park, so I always enjoy going over there to see the Sounds. But talking about the Vols right now, how much are you buying the Vols hype with their expectations? This was Josh Heupel on the Vols' expectations.
Besides wins on the football field, what's a goal or goals for you as a head coach at the University of Tennessee?
Standard at Tennessee is to win championships. It's pretty clear. I think we're top 10 in the history of college football in wins, first-round draft picks, bowls, bowl wins. The standard is to compete at the highest level and win championships. For us, that starts in the Eastern Division, which everybody knows that there's a lot of good football that's played in that division.
I have the Vols finishing second in the East to Georgia. That's what I did yesterday. The East is intriguing. The West is I think a stronger division. Even though the East is, I think at times the East catches up. Obviously Georgia has won it the last 2 years. They've won the national championship the last 2 years. But I have Tennessee finishing behind Georgia. I just feel like until I see something different, I can't go the other way on that. But I understand what he's saying. The standard is to win championships. And it's been a long time since they've been able to say that at the University of Tennessee. We all know the whole feels like 98 thing. Can he get them back to that point? And to Rex Rhodes' prediction of, and he, clarified saying that 4 might be lofty, that he believes that there could be 4 playoff appearances in the expanded playoff over the course of 10 years with the Volunteers. I don't think that's crazy. But, as he also said, you have to get the rosters to a point where they can compete with Alabama, with Georgia, with LSU, with Texas, with Oklahoma that are coming in, with maybe Texas A&M, if Texas A&M can ever, live up to the hype that they seem to get every year. But this year being the last year of the divisions, I think the division comes down to that game against Georgia on, I think it's November 18th in Knoxville. A lot of people, talking to him this week, don't feel like Tennessee will win that game. And right now, I'm one of them. I feel like Georgia probably wins that game. But we got to see. We got to see what, there's times where, how many times have we hyped up a team and like, oh, yeah, they're going to be really tough to beat, and then they suck, You
end up being a blowout game.
Yeah, you never know. So it's all, that's why you line them up and you play the games. But I think the hype is tangible right now with Tennessee. And it's a hype that I haven't felt with this program in a really, really long time. So I'm curious of where you're at. 615-737-1025. Are you buying the hype with Tennessee? We'll continue that discussion next. Plus hear what Paul Feinbaum had to say about the Tennessee Vols. We'll do that here on the Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
It's Family Leisure's huge summer clearance sale.
So what does that mean?
All our summer items have to go. Everything in stock is on sale at Family Leisure. Pools, spas, and outdoor furniture are all on sale.
Give me an example.
A $2,900 pool is now only $19.99 installed. Or a huge 24-foot by 52-inch pool is only $29.99 installed with an upgraded filter package.
Wow, that's great. What about the spas?
Right now, take $1,000 off a $4,000 spa at $29.99 at Family Leisure. Save even more on scratch and dents and floor models.
So the patio furniture's on sale too?
All the Family Leisure summer furniture must go. 50% off or more with even bigger discounts on display models and discontinued items.
I'm guessing the grills and grill islands are also on sale.
All of the summer inventory is on sale. Even the Diamond Point Play Gym is down to $19.99.
Family Leisure's summer clearance sale. Both huge locations, Franklin and Antioch.
312 Pizza Company is your spot for the best Chicago-style eats right here in Nashville. From thin crust pizza to deep dish pizza to Italian beef sandwiches and Chicago dogs. Doesn't get much better than that. Until now. 312 Pizza Company is now serving up their award-winning pizza by the slice. All day, every day. Don't have time to wait for a full pie? No problem. Get a slice instead. Order a full pie but want a little more? Add another slice. Do it. Honestly, just go get a slice. 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria. Go get a slice.
If it's important to Nashville,
I'll put it out right now.
It's important to Jared Stillman.
Like, that's it.
He's not afraid to ask the tough questions.
Something is going on, and the question is, what does it mean?
Or give the strong opinion.
And just needed the bozo offensive coordinator to stop ruining the quarterback.
Stillman and Company. Weekdays at 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. All of us at 102.5 and 106.3 The Game want to recognize our active military, veterans, first responders, and educators with the playing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof knew through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
This is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. This is Nick Keyser. The Josh Harris era has started with the Washington Commanders organization as he's officially taken over as the team's new owner. Here's what he had to say about taking over the franchise.
Look, it's an amazing day, obviously, for me personally and for our group, and it's an amazing vote of confidence to be accepted unanimously into the NFL, incredible league. And so I'm going to remember, it's a high note. I grew up a Washington football fan.
Meanwhile, this weekend, Nashville SC will take on the Colorado Rapids to kick off the League Series group stage. And the Nashville Sounds took down the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp 12-10 last night and are back in action tonight with pregame at 6:20 p.m. over on 94.9 The Fan. Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Ross Chastain will be first to finish in the Ally 500 at Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 1025 and 106.3.
Checkered flag is in the air. Man, this is a win in the cup race.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Nashville. The suit is in the building. Acknowledge me. Are you ready? Ready? This is Chase McCabe on Nashville's best sports talk. 1025 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase McCabe Show, 1025, 106.3 The Game. 615-737-1025 as we start hour number 2. Are you buying the Vols hype? It's not just after SEC Media Days. I mean, the hype's been there for sure. But Josh Heupel speaking yesterday, Joe Milton being asked 800 times how far he can throw a football or an orange or whatever. Which, look, it's impressive, and I heard Joe's rant this morning. It made me laugh. Because I agree with him. It's like, okay, we don't need to ask him that every time, but can he throw it 100 yards and then be accurate with it? That's the question. I mean, I've seen him throw one into the band. But he's got to be accurate. But I am buying the hype. Now, I still have them finishing second in the division to Georgia. I have Alabama winning the West. I actually have Alabama winning the SEC this year. Maybe that's some Kool-Aid. I'm drinking the Crimson Kool-Aid because Nick Saban getting up there and saying that the cake's not done yet makes me nervous. He had a little bit of that swagger back, and so I would be nervous. Now LSU is certainly going to be a team to pay attention to. Texas A&M is going to be a desperate team because I think Jimbo is very much on the hot seat. I don't care how much money he's owed. And so what does that mean for Tennessee? How far can Tennessee get? Paul Feinbaum, of course, host of the Paul Feinbaum Show on ESPN Radio and the SEC Network, was on Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase earlier in the week and was asked if this team is for real or if it was just a one and done.
I want to start it off with your alma mater, actually, with Tennessee. Tennessee this past season, I feel like fans feel like they have exercised so many of their demons that they have been feeling over the last 20-plus years. Was last year with Josh Heupel and Hendon Hooker and Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt, was that a one-off, or is that just a peak of what's to come of Tennessee's potential excellence?
I think it was a preview. And the team really wasn't that great. If you go down the personnel, they had a lot of holes they had to put together. And I thought Heupel was simply a maestro. And I may never get it out of my mind the way he just simply
it cut off. There was more to that. But Paul Feinbaum basically went on to talk about, the offense and putting it all together, and Hendon Hooker, how, Hendon Hooker evolved into a Heisman candidate, and really should have been a Heisman finalist, but he got hurt in the South Carolina game. So I'm with Feinbaum. I'm buying the hype. I think the hype is legitimate, and I like the play on words you did there, Nick, on the Twitter. But I think it is very much legitimate, but it all starts with Joe Milton, and as Vince Ferrara pointed out on our show yesterday, the defense as well. That's what I think. It's certainly going to be, but I think Joe Milton, if he can take what he learned from the season and a half, 2 seasons basically, that he sat behind Hendon Hooker, and this should, in the state of college football, should not go unnoticed that he stuck with it. And he transferred out of Michigan and came to Tennessee to be the starter. He lost the job, and he still stuck with it. I think there should be something to be said for that, because I think you're going to see it pay off this year, because I think he was able to learn this offense more. He was able to get the work in with Josh Heupel, obviously learned from he and Hendon Hooker learned together, and now he's going to get his opportunity to show exactly what he can do. Of course, Josh Heupel, the head coach, was asked about his quarterback during his media availability yesterday, and he is excited.
With Hendon Hooker, you had a transfer that came in, had some success at the quarterback position. Now you've got Joe at quarterback, who's a transfer himself, and I know you saw that growth with Hendon. Talk a little bit about what it's been like for you to watch the growth from Joe.
Yeah, I think, one of the great stories in college football in the era of the transfer portal is, his trust and ability to recognize areas that he can continue to grow in and trust the people around him, that we have his best interests at heart, understand that within our scheme he's going to have an opportunity to do everything that he wants to, which is be one of the best players inside of college football. And through that process, over the last, 18 to 24 months, he's continued to grow in his comfort of who he is, what he's about, how he wants to approach and attack every single day. How he wants to grow as a football player, meaning fundamentally at the quarterback position, along with understanding offensive and defensive schemes, so that he can put his eyes in the right spot, get his body in the right spot to be consistently accurate with the football, and then how he wants to impact his teammates. Nobody inside of our program was surprised by the success that he had when he got his opportunity last year as a starter. He played extremely well when he got into football games throughout the course of the season. But his preparation, his urgency, how he practiced, all those things led himself to everybody inside of our building believing that he was going to play at that type of level. And he's got a lot more out there. He's had a great offseason for 15 practices in spring ball, did a great job of navigating the pocket, being extremely accurate with the football. I'm really excited to get back on the grass with him during the course of training camp. I believe he's poised to have a great 23 season.
That was Josh Heupel on his quarterback, Joe Milton. And I will say, I watched the whole press conference. That might have been the longest answer he gave on anything that he was asked about. I mean, because – and you could – the excitement was tangible that he is really, really pulling for this kid. He has a lot of faith in this kid and knows that he is going to help lead his football team to great things. I think there was a piece of us – that were looking to this year knowing that Hendon Hooker was going to be gone, and people were thinking, okay, well, they're going to take a step back. I don't know if that's true. I mean, they're going to have to put some things together, obviously, against teams like Georgia and Alabama. I mean, last year they split between the two, and nobody thought that was going to be the case. Even going into last year, people thought, okay, well, there's your two losses, and they beat Alabama. Now, it took a lot. And you play that game over again, it probably goes a different way. But can they do that again this year? Again, I think Alabama wins the SEC. And I have Tennessee finishing second in the East, so that should tell you that I believe they're going to lose to Alabama and I believe they're going to lose to Georgia. But if they can, rewrite that narrative, then obviously we're going to be having a completely different conversation.
Interesting. I have it kind of opposite. I have them losing to Alabama this year and then beating Georgia.
So is that just you think that that's going to be a great game and Tennessee's going to come out on top, or are you not buying the Georgia hype for a three-peat?
I'm not buying the Georgia hype for a three-peat, and also just with all the just jumbled up problems that Georgia has right now this offseason, it might carry over into a few of their games. I mean, not all of them, but that morale kind of changes up a locker room a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just come out flustered the first 2-3 games. And you never know. Sometimes that stuff kind of comes back up later in the season. So I think that might happen with Tennessee, especially the game being in Knoxville.
I think Tennessee's schedule is, not easy, but favorable still. I mean, Virginia, I think, and that game will be here at Nissan Stadium. I think they win that. Austin Peay, obviously. Florida's terrible. And even though they got to go to the Swamp, I think they take care of Florida. UTSA. South Carolina, they're going to be out for blood. Like, they are going to be out for blood, and that's in Knoxville, and that crowd is going to be, crazy. Like,
and that's your upset team.
Crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think South Carolina, I don't know if I'd call them my upset team. I just think they're intriguing.
Right.
Like, I saw Spencer Rattler walking around yesterday. I was like, this kid looks like a pitcher, which I think he may have played baseball too. But, it's all dependent on him and what he can do. Texas A&M's an interesting one. The fact that they got to play Texas A&M and Bama back-to-back is not easy. But Texas A&M is certainly an interesting one. And I guess you can put South Carolina, Texas A&M, Alabama. I would call that their toughest stretch of the season. Then they're at Kentucky. So you could put that in there because I don't know what Kentucky's going to be. UConn, at Missouri, Georgia on November 18th, and then they close out the season against Vanderbilt. So they just have to take care of business, and they can't have what happened against South Carolina last year, a game that, at that point in time they should have won. Everybody thought, okay, yeah, they should win this game, and then they slipped up and get dominated. They can't have that happen again. That's just bottom line.
Yeah, and I'm here looking at the Vols schedule. They have the UTSA Roadrunners in September. Watch out for that game, Vols fans. I didn't cover the team, but I did a show out in MTSU.
Which game?
UTSA.
Oh.
They are a Roadrunners. Obviously that offense is guns a-blazing. They don't stop. Frank Harris, the lefty quarterback, senior, I believe Zachary Franklin's still on the roster. They have some good wideouts that can actually damage it, a little bit of a defense.
Tennessee will be a 30-point favorite.
Hey, I'll take the plus spread. I'll take that plus money spread.
Okay, we're going to remember this.
Clip it. We will.
September 22nd on Fridays when we do our best bets. We will bring this up. For sure. Coming up next, we'll continue to hear from Josh Heupel because he weighed in on some NIL things, but Lane Kiffin's comments yesterday about the state of college football and the backlash of his comments. We'll discuss that next. Chase McCabe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robbie and Rexroad for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
In any work environment, the culture is the most important thing. And what makes up the culture? The people. And this month at Cromwell Media, we want to highlight a few people who are celebrating their anniversaries with us. Morning show producer on 102.5 The Game, Nick Keyser, is celebrating 2 years. 102.9 The Buzz hosts, Eric Steele and Andy Herring, are celebrating 9 years. Sports producer Kenny Adams is celebrating 11 years. And Derek Mason, one of the greatest receivers in Titans history, is celebrating his anniversary with us on 102.5 The Game as well. If you're looking for a new career, reach out to us at together@cromwellmedia.com. Love what you do, love where you work.
Hear that? That's Jeff Anderson. He's that guy in your neighborhood that's always making improvements to his house, his car, his yard. On your street, it's about keeping up with the Andersons. One thing you don't know is Jeff's tools are from Harbor Freight. Tools at great prices. That circular saw right there, you wouldn't believe the deal he got. Just think, when you're keeping up with the Andersons, you're saving money. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights.
We have a team committed to helping you navigate the court system, whether you've been accused of a crime or you're going through a messy divorce and custody. Call our team to help you navigate this system. We are here to protect your rights, to demand your rights, to enforce your rights. 615-604-6263. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Hey y'all, it's Courtney with Parman Tractor and Equipment. Warmer months have you working overtime? Be sure to visit Parman Tractor and Equipment for all your New Holland tractor and bush hog needs. Swing by our store at 3570 Dickerson Pike in North Nashville or give our sales team a call. We're now offering 0% financing for 72 months on select New Holland tractors. Get the brands you trust from a local dealer like Parman, always ensuring totally outrageous customer service. Visit ParmanTractor.com for the best deals on equipment, New Holland tractor, bush hog, and more.
Hey, are you seeking relief? Maybe you just want to enhance your day or night. Did you know there are legal THC products available right here in Tennessee? Yeah, really. You can have legal THC products shipped directly to the comfort of your home. Yes, comfort in cannabis is only a website away. Visit greentreescompany.com. That's Green Trees with a Z, and change your life today.
Being value conscious and getting the most for your money is so important these days, and that's why it's more important than ever to shop at Genesis Diamonds, the undisputed value leader.
Part of the education at Genesis Diamonds is we explain to you how we travel the world and purchase our diamonds, how we buy in bulk, we pay cash for our diamonds so we can save every possible percent to save you money on your diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President David Cooper.
There are no middlemen, there are no other wholesalers or dealers, so we cut out all of those extra added markups and pass those savings on to you.
When you combine that unmatched value with a totally no-pressure shopping experience, you know you're in the right place.
Because we do not work on commission, our sole purpose is to make sure you get exactly what you want. There's nothing in it for us personally, whether you spend $1,000 or $100,000.
That's why at Genesis, people often end up spending less than they had budgeted.
Our goal is to purely present you with options so you can choose exactly what you want.
The value you want, the experience you deserve. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series tonight against Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
You're listening to Chase McCabe.
He did not want to rehearse, and he wanted to leave as soon as possible.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Madman, drummers, bombers, and Indians.
Chase McCabe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. We'll be out at Bringle Smoking Oasis later today for our game ticket tour. Adam Vingan and I in for Jared Stillman. So come out and see us. Looking forward to that. Talking about NIL, the state of college football, and this has obviously been a subject for a long time. It's not just this week. It was an outlet for all the coaches in the SEC to discuss it and be asked about it. Nick Saban talked about it a little bit. Kirby Smart talked about it. Josh Heupel addressed it. And so did Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss football coach, who was up yesterday. And we ran that press conference for you. But what's interesting to me is he talked a lot about it in the state of college football and that he doesn't fault the kids for taking the money and all those things. And the backlash is just that it's the irony of him being the one that says those things. Here's a little snippet of what Kiffin had to say about NIL and how it needs to be fixed.
And, I mean, I was just thinking on a plane ride over here, what if you had that in other sports, you know? Tom Brady, Asia Wilson, Lionel Messi, LeBron James. What if every year those guys can opt into free agency twice a year, really, and they got no long-term contracts? Basically, everybody's not even on a 1-month contract because they can leave in 2 windows. So it's just created a lot of issues, and these roster changes, and I'm not complaining about it because we take advantage, obviously, of free agency. But at the same time, I don't think that's really good for college football. These massive overhauls of rosters every year really is not in the best interest of college football. And then when you add the NIL at the same time, we've created, I've said it before, we got different caps and no luxury taxes. So now we got professional sports, because that really is what we are, what's been created now. And there's no caps on what guys can make or what teams' payrolls are. So when this first came out, it said, all right, basically whatever programs have the most aggressive boosters with the most money are going to get the players. And now we're adding some states that now you don't have to follow NCAA, and now the university can take their money and give it to the collective to give to the players. So now we really have pay for play that the biggest schools with the most donors, most aggressive, and the school wants to spend the most money paying the players for play to come to their school is where we're at. So there's kind of your State of the Union on the situation of what all coaches are dealing with around the country. And really a poor system that isn't getting better now is going to get worse with this, because, again, now we just look at recruiting rankings and you're going to see that they usually are going to follow this, donor base and what schools are going to decide to give the most money to the players. So it is what it is. We'll deal with it like we do with everything else, but somehow it's got to get fixed.
That was Lane Kiffin yesterday during his press conference at SEC Media Days. So, here's what I think about all this. I don't think he's wrong. Now, he like other coaches, contradicts himself a little bit because, and he even, he admitted that. Like, I'm not. This is not even being critical of him yet. Like, he basically said, like, we take advantage of it, the transfer portal, because it's there and we kind of have to stay in it. But is it really what's best for college football? I've always been a proponent of everybody gets one. That, when you're 18 years old and you make a decision and then you get to be 20, 21, whatever, things are going to change. And if the coach that recruited you is no longer there and you feel like it's not a good situation for you, then okay, I get it. Everybody gets one. But it has become free agency. And now you add NIL into the mix, and basically you have two separate issues that have now become one issue because they've basically morphed into what free agency is. And so you have to re-recruit every year, and now you can use NIL to recruit, even though legally I guess you can't, but it is all a part of it. And it's not regulated. It's up to the states. It's up to the conferences and schools, and that's why Sankey wants Congress involved and all these things. So you have a bunch of different issues that are now combined into one major issue, and that's where college football is. So I don't think he's wrong there. It's just now people look at him going, okay, well, he's the one saying all this, and he's been popped for cheating before, and it's kind of ironic that – he's up there complaining. Like, here was Freddie Coleman, ESPN radio host, kind of giving his thoughts on Kiffin's comments.
College coaches hate losing two things, money and power. And they know they don't have it anymore when it comes to power. They have all this money, but kids are letting them know, hey, if you don't treat me right, if you get my nose turned sideways, I'm going to be looking to go somewhere else because you guys did it all these years. If you want to go to a bigger program for more money, and even if people got turned sideways, you didn't care. You hop, skipped, and jumped to a different program. So now they don't like the fact that kids have that kind of power that they can do that. And I'm not saying that the transfer portal is great for college football or NIL. Believe me, college football is in a really difficult kind of crossroads when it comes to both of those entities that are affecting their sport. But it's really hypocritical that you come out and say what a disaster college football has been because players are having the same rights and freedoms to do what you've always done. What you've always had a chance to do as college football coaches.
And that's what people are always going to go back to is that, okay, well, a coach can take more money and move around, but why can't the kids? And so this kind of leads me to my point. This is never going to be fixed. And it's time for everybody to come to terms with that. That now, maybe it's not going to be the wild, wild west like it is right now. Maybe they're going to, be able to put some regulations in and slow it down a little bit, but it's never going to be fixed. Like it's never going to completely just go back to how it was. It's always going to – there's always going to be some seediness involved. There's always going to be some, behind-the-scenes, backroom dealings, boosters / collectives / whatever you want to call them, agents getting involved. This is what it is. And so to Kiffin's point of, look, I like that, you can go get I think he was talking about a player from Alabama. If they're not getting playing time at Alabama, you can come to Ole Miss and you can play and be a part of things. I mean, they're going to do that. They're going to continue to take advantage of that. It's not going to go away. And so coaches can sit there and they can complain about it. And I think they can ask for, okay, can we put some guidelines together at least on this? I don't think that's too much to ask, but to think that all this is going to get fixed, that's not the case. Now, I did laugh, Paul Feinbaum, who doesn't hold back by any means, discuss Kiffin's comments on his show.
I laughed my way through the whole conversation. Lane Kiffin's really upset. He's legalized cheating. Players can leave at a moment's notice. He's the same guy that left Tennessee in the middle of the night to go to Southern Cal and spent most of November while his team, as you pointed out, was losing 5 of its last 6, talking to Auburn and then leveraging that for a $10 million deal. We all admire Lane Kiffin. He's fun on Twitter, but come on, Lane. The NIL is a story that is long past acting outraged about. We know it's a mess. Thank you very much. Now, why don't you try to win a big game, okay?
Paul Feinbaum on the Paul Feinbaum Show. Look, I like Lane Kiffin. He is polarizing, to say the least. He was on this radio station probably about 4 or 5 years ago. He was still at FAU, and he came on the morning show, and it was just like the whole time, he's playing to the Tennessee fans, and he ended with "Go Vols," and it's what he does. There are Vols fans that over a decade later still hate him, and then there are Vols fans that wanted him back. They were like, oh, no, we forgot. Look, just bring him back because he's so polarizing. So, and in any – I'm sure he's sitting there today hearing all this, backlash or people make comments about him, and he's just smiling because guess what? They're talking about him. They're talking about his program. They're talking about Ole Miss. So it worked. And that's why he continues to play the game the way he plays the game. I get it, but he's fascinating. He walked by us yesterday and just waving at everybody like, hey, how we doing? He brings attention to himself. But what I say to people, take some of the comments that he has made and listen to him, because I think he's not off base on some things, even though he might be contradicting himself a little bit. Coming up next, Chris Sanders, forever Titans wide receiver, is going to join the show. We'll get his thoughts on DeAndre Hopkins, training camp next week, and some other things. Always enjoy our conversations with Chris. That's next. Chase McCabe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Sometimes it's good to be loud.
This is the NFL.
Especially when you're Jared Stillman.
That's where we are.
He's not afraid to say what's on his mind each and every day.
That was embarrassing. I don't care if you're a rookie. That was embarrassing.
Stillman and Company. Weekdays at 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Sometimes you want a sure return on your investment. That's where CDs come into play. At F&M Bank, they've been providing smart choices to customers for over a century, including CDs that are a great way to save. You make a deposit and collect the earnings on your terms. Great rates, predictable results, and backed by the Federal Deposit Insurance Company. That's smart banking. Life is complicated. Banking shouldn't be. So go see them at one of their 20 locations across Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky, or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
The Sounds take the field tonight at 6:35 against the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Kick your weekend off relaxing with Sounds baseball. Gates open at 5:30, but stick around for the whole game to enjoy a post-game fireworks show. $10 tickets available now at NashvilleSounds.com.
Mom, we're out of potato chips. Teenagers. They'll eat you out of house and home, kind of like health insurance, which can take a big bite out of the family budget. Fortunately, with Farm Bureau Health Plan's Core Choice coverage, we can save $3,600 a year compared to the leading competitor. And we've got better coverage with a lower premium, lower deductible, free telehealth visits, and access to one of the largest networks available.
Can we order pizza?
Visit FBHP.com or your local Farm Bureau office today.
Did you know about 50% of youth report vaping in Nashville? Half of our youth are vaping both marijuana and nicotine products. Adults can make a difference. It's time to come together to help our young people. Visit NashvilleThrivesTN.org. That's NashvilleThrivesTN.org. It's back to school time! Check out the Stars Nashville Thrives tent at the Back to School event in Madison on Saturday, July 29th from 3 to 6 at the El Patron Event Center at 709A Rivergate Parkway in Goodlettsville. Oh yeah! And in Nashville on Sunday, July 30th from 12 to 3 at Coleman Park, 384 Thompson Lane. You better get there early. There will be school supplies on a first-come basis. Bring your unused medications and safely dispose of them in the drug take-back box to keep them out of the hands of our youth. Visit NashvilleThrivesTN.org to learn more. That's NashvilleThrivesTN.org. That's NashvilleThrivesTN.org. This project is funded under a grant contract with the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, did you tune in late? It's okay. It happens. You can subscribe to the Chase McCabe podcast wherever you get your podcasts. iTunes, Spotify, doesn't matter. Rate, subscribe, and review today.
Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe here. What a song. Inappropriate for our next guest. Forever
Hey.
Titans wide receiver, Chris Sanders. What's up, Chris? How are you?
Man, what's going on, my man? You know that's my new theme song for next year when we play our City Duck Underpicks.
Oh, is that
my
it?
theme song, baby.
Okay. Return to the Mac. You're going to try and return to the championship, right?
Absolutely, man. You know I gotta. You can't let you dethrone me, so I'm ready to get after it.
Yeah, that will be fun for sure when that returns. But speaking of, I guess it's not a return. It's just joining the team. DeAndre Hopkins, a 2-year deal. I would assume he will be introduced in the next few days as a member of the Titans. But I know that you felt good about this, that this would be a good fit. I love the move, and I was surprised that it was a 2-year deal. How about you?
Right. Yeah, I am too. I mean, because the thing about it is, especially with him, I'm not saying he wants to get a big payday, but he wants a 1-year deal. But I just think that it benefits everybody because the thing about it is if the Tennessee Titans actually have a great year, they may run this thing back next year. So I think it's a plus not just for Andre Hopkins, but a plus for the Tennessee Titans.
What does this do for Treylon Burks going into his second year, whether it's playing on the other side of DeAndre Hopkins or watching him in practice, watching him in a game, what have you?
Man, just watching how a professional works. I mean, watch how he works in practice. But also, this is what I love about Hopkins. He brings an attitude. I mean, everybody talks about receivers being divas and don't want to be hit and all that crazy stuff. If you watch him at the line of scrimmage, if you watch him catch the ball, you watch him attack the football, he just brings a nastiness to the game. And then we talked about Treylon Burks, and Derek Mason always alludes to this about having that dog in you. If Treylon Burks picks up a little bit from DeAndre Hopkins, gets that dog in him, wins at the line of scrimmage, and have that attitude, I'm going to tell you something. You got 2 premier wide receivers in the NFL.
How big is it, Chris Sanders with us, that now I look at the receiver room and think that, okay, everybody is in the right spot. Everybody's where they need to be because up until this signing, you had guys that I think were going to be playing up from a spot that maybe they didn't need to. So whoever's the 1 or the 2 between Burks and Hopkins, that doesn't really matter to me. Kyle Phillips, I put as kind of the 3. Westbrook Akina, I put it, or Chris Moore, I put it in the 4. How big is that now it takes a little pressure off some of those other guys?
I mean, it really does. But not just even the wide receivers. It takes the pressure off of Derrick Henry because the thing about it is if you look at the last couple of years, who's the who's the main guy on this team? It was Derrick Henry. But here's what I want the listeners to understand and all of us to understand. look at the talent that's going to be on the field. Just say if we're going 11 personnel, one back, one tight end, 3 wide receivers, and I'm naming the people. You got Derrick Henry as the back. You got Chig as the tight end. You got Burks at the wide receiver. You got Kyle Phillips in the number 2 wide receiver, and you got Hopkins on the other side. This Tennessee Titans offense went from being okay to an explosive team. So you look at them across the board. I'm gonna tell you something. This team can be dangerous with the defense that the Tennessee Titans have.
Now, the thing that I agree with you, what you just said about the offense, but the thing that worries me is, I mean, this isn't a Bruce Matthews-led offensive line. There's no Brad Hopkins, Benji Olsen walking through that door.
Right.
There's a lot of uncertainty here. Now, they're probably going to bring in George Fant to replace Petit Frere on the right side, at least for the first 6 games. But how concerned / intrigued are you by this offensive line right now?
I'm concerned a little bit because if you look at last year, what was the Achilles heel of this offense? It was the offensive line. And if you look at last year, they gave up 54 sacks, and Tannehill and Malik Willis was running for their lives. But I think that the guys that they brought in, you got Brunskill, you got Dillard, you got some guys that can play, and then you got Skoronski that they drafted in the draft. So even though it looks on paper that it's not very good, but if they just put the pieces together and guys stay healthy, I really believe that this offense can really do some things. I know everybody's concerned because they're not the big names. But at the end of the day, if you put together a solid offensive line, some solid players that are disciplined, that are versatile, I still think that you have a recipe for success. So, I think we can be worried just a tad bit. But at the end of the day, Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel are putting some good pieces to make sure this offensive line is secured.
Chris Sanders is with us, Forever Titans wide receiver. The news comes out today from Ian Rappaport that Kevin Byard has restructured his contract that will take him down to $11 million base. He has incentives that can get him back to 14. I'm just curious of your thoughts of this. As we spent an entire offseason talking about, and it was disrespectful to ask him to take a pay cut after all he's done for the team, and then ultimately he basically takes a pay cut to make room for D-Hop and other things.
You know what? We always talk about a guy having character and also being a professional and doing the right thing in the community and on the field. This is a prime example of what I'm talking about. Here's a guy, and I'm just going to be honest, here's a guy that got disrespected and said, you know what, I want you to take a pay cut. And he's one of the best safeties in the league and went to the Pro Bowl, and you asked him to take a pay cut. I am so proud of this guy. And the reason why I'm so proud of this guy is because he had 2 choices. And Jared laughs at me when I say this. He had a choice to get bitter or better. And this is the kind of character, and these are the kind of guys that you want on your team to say, you know what, even though I got disrespected, even though it felt like they didn't value me, I'm still going to do what's right for the team. I mean, listen, we always see the bad things about what NFL players do in the NFL by doing stuff in the club and doing things with women, all this crazy stuff. But I really believe that we really need to apply Byard for doing this, because the thing about it is he didn't have to take a pay cut. He didn't have to restructure his contract. But what he did, he said, you know what? It's not about me. It's about we. And I take my hat off to Byard. It's just absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah. And look, I mean, it is going to help make the team better. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins makes the team better. Their depth on the offensive line makes the team better. There's no way around that. But do you think that it means that, and we kind of started off the conversation with this, but with him doing this, could this potentially mean that this is the last year of this core? Or, can they run it back if things go the right direction?
I mean, you made a good point. It's about what they do this year. And I think that if they come out and start losing games and it just looks so terrible, and I think that you do have to do that. But at the end of the day, say if they win 10 or 11 games and they have a potential, to get better, you add a couple of pieces, I think you keep the core guys together, like with Henry, Byard and Hopkins and Burks, and keep that nucleus of guys that's on your team and starting adding more pieces. But it all depends on how they start out the gate. It all depends on what they do this year, because the thing about it is, I mean, you look at this roster. This defense is nasty. I mean, you got Simmons, you got Autry, you got Weaver, you got all these guys that are on defense. Then now you got an offense that's very respectable now. So the thing about it is, the teams that win, that keep their teams together, kind of like the Kansas City Chiefs.
So next week is training camp. Players will report. What was that feeling like for you when you knew that you were less than a week out?
When I came in as a rookie, it was a little different for me because a lot of people don't like training camp, but I came in with an edge because I was upset because I was hearing a lot of things of what I could and what I could not do. So I was chomping at the bit to actually get into camp. But, I was just ready to go. And the thing about it is there's a lot of guys that kind of shy away from camp. But the thing about it is the reason why I love camp is because you get to know your players. When everybody knows that I got drafted with, Steve McNair and all that. But there were different guys that were on the team that I really didn't know, like Stepnoski and Bruce Matthews and Brad Hopkins, that I had the chance to get to learn. So when you get into camp, you're building camaraderie. You're knowing your players. You're knowing your quarterback. You're knowing your offensive line. You're knowing your defense. And you start building a relationship to go win a championship. So with me, if I could rewind my camp experience, I would go in camp, valuing it because you're about to build on something that's very, very great.
Now, you were describing rookie Chris Sanders. What was like year 5, year 6 Chris Sanders?
Man, my bunion was hurting. I was like, man, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Now,
but
that's a whole different story, man. It's totally different when you coming in as a rookie. But when you're coming in at 30-something years old, I mean, your bunion hurts. Your elbows hurt. But at the end of the day, man, camp ain't no joke. But you just got something you got to do.
Yeah, but do you have to find that like rookies are going to come in like, hey, I'm here to prove myself and go in just ready to go. But you have to find that balance because it's 6 weeks essentially.
Yeah, but the thing about it is camp is a little different from what it was, when I was there. We had camp in San Antonio where you can have pads, 2 and 3 times a day. Now, when you get into camp, you only can have one padded practice, every other day. So it's a little easier. It takes care of the veterans. But back in the day, we had 2 days in San Antonio. I went from, weighing like 182 and leaving like 160. And then, I came home and my ex-wife was like, ugh. So that just kind of tells you, how camp was. Listen, back in the day, Chase, camp was a grind. We would wake up at 6 in the morning. We would, eat breakfast. Then we had practice. We had meetings. We had practice in the sun that was 100-something degrees. I mean, it was grinding. Guys didn't like it. But now today, it's a little more leaner. You have about an hour and 30 minutes of going through drills, and maybe have a 7-on-7, a 9-on-7, and you don't have the banging going on. But at the end of the day, man, you got to go in there. You got to enjoy camp.
Real quick, the Titans are this weekend going to unveil finally the Oilers throwback uniforms.
Yeah.
You wore a Houston Oilers uniform. You wore a Tennessee Oilers uniform. What does that mean to you?
Man, I think it's really good, and I think it just reminds you of the tradition of the Houston Oilers. And you kind of look back at some of the guys, just like we talk about Bruce Matthews, Brad Hopkins, Blaine Bishop, guys that were in that era. And it just shows you, man, there was a great tradition. You had some guys that did some great thing in that organization. So I'm excited about it. I'm going to go down in my basement and look at my old jersey because I got it, framed up to remind myself that I was a part of that tradition. So I think that, Miss Amy Annie Shrunk and Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel are doing a great job by unveiling these new uniforms. I think it's outstanding.
Hey, 81 in your programs, number 1 in your hearts, Chris Sanders, with us.
I appreciate you, Doc.
Appreciate you, Chris. Thanks for doing this.
Love you, man.
Love you
man.
too.
Bye-bye.
Chris Sanders, forever Titans wide receiver, joining us here on the show, and always enjoy our conversations with him. It is almost here, almost time for training camp. We'll discuss some of that next as we put a bow on things. Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local. You need to give Ron Tannehill a 2-year extension.
There haven't been too many coaching changes for the Predators.
And your source for Nashville sports.
I think that's what the Titans need.
Players who can score.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We are changing the game. Help your bets stay hot this summer. Superbook Sports, the most trusted name in sports betting with a direct line to Las Vegas. And right now, when you use my promo code CHASE, that's my name. It's very simple, CHASE. You can score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, Superbook will match your first bet up to $250 when you use the promo code CHASE. It's that easy. So download the Superbook Sports app. They have everything under the sun that you would want to bet on. The Women's World Cup is one of those things. As that gets underway, the USA a heavy favorite tonight against Vietnam on the Superbook Sports. But there are a lot of different things that you can bet on with that. You got futures for college and pro football. Download the Superbook Sports app. Enter the promo code CHASE to get $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
It's Family Leisure's huge summer clearance sale.
So what does that mean?
All summer items have to go. $2,900 pools, only $19.99 installed.
What about the spas?
A $4,000 spa is on sale at $29.99. Save even more on scratch and dents and floor models.
Patio furniture's on sale too?
All Family Leisure summer furniture is 50% off or more. Huge discounts on display models and discontinued items.
Grills and grill islands are also on sale.
All the summer inventory is on sale.
Family Leisure summer clearance sale. Franklin and Antioch.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
Jasper's on West End Avenue is your neighborhood bar and restaurant. They offer a fun atmosphere with a game room, TVs, a large bar, lounge area, and patio seating, plus free parking. That's right, free parking on West End. Come into Jasper's today to enjoy their elevated bar fare and well-crafted cocktails. Happy hour Monday through Friday from 4 to 6, and now game night every second and fourth Thursday. Drop in anytime where you can win gift card prizes each week. That's Jasper's on West End Avenue, Nashville's place to gather, play, eat, and drink.
This is Evan Bass for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. For most of us, sex is a big part of our relationship. So when something like erectile dysfunction starts affecting intimacy, it can be a real problem. But what you may not know is that ED doesn't just affect you, it can be tough on your partner as well. Plus, if you have ED, you know how it can make you feel. The truth is, we see a lot of guys who have depression, frustration, and even relationship issues because of ED. But we don't want ED to impact you or the one you love anymore. The Tennessee Men's Clinic tackles ED. Our urologists and medical providers take a comprehensive approach and have treated thousands of men with treatments that are successful in nearly 90% of cases. Even if your hormones are off, or if pills, wave therapy, or other treatments have left you hanging, the Tennessee Men's Clinic will work hard to help you get your sex life back, perhaps performing like you haven't in a long time. So call us. Your first appointment includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices in Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Hello, whoever it is going to be.
You want to weigh in on anything that we're talking about on today's show? Hit us up on our phone and text line at 615-737-1025, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. This is Chase McCabe.
Good to meet you. You know why it's good to meet me? Because I'm smart and I'm right.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Nick Frazier alongside here on this Friday. Appreciate Chris Sanders for joining us. By the way, I forgot to mention, I even asked when this was, and I forgot to mention it. He'll join Jill Jelnick on Fox 17 Sports Overtime on Sunday at 10, breaking down the Titans and getting you set for training camp. So always enjoy hearing him on the radio and seeing him on the TV because he does a fantastic job with that. As we wrap things up, let's give away a pair of tickets to see 50 Cent. I can't wait to go. And I know that was very bad how I just put that. 50 Cent, whatever. You can win tickets, 615-737-1025. Caller number 5. We'll take the 5 out of 50. And you can win a pair of tickets to see him on July 28th at Bridgestone Arena. 615-737-1025. Caller number 5 will win right now here on the program. Again, I'll be with Adam Vingan this afternoon in for Jared out at Bringles Smokin' Oasis over on the west side in the Nations for our game summer ticket tour. 4901 Centennial Boulevard in Nashville. We'll have Preds tickets, Sounds tickets, Big Machine Music City Grand Prix tickets, all those things. And then our grand prize, which is a pair of Titans tickets, Preds tickets in the 501 Club, and a 2-night stay at Opryland Hotel with access to Soundwaves. You can enter to win that. So come out and see us. Training camp, it's almost here. Opens up next week. You heard Chris talking about that, just kind of the grind that goes into it. I'm excited about it. We're going to have our shows out there with coverage and talking about practice. It'll be the midday shows that'll be out there. But starting July 26th, this show will be out there, Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase, and hearing from different players and coaches and Rand Carthon and what he has to say, and just getting a look at this Titans team that includes DeAndre Hopkins, and whether I would assume they'll announce it maybe today, but then he will probably be introduced. I had to get, when they do their media availability next week. I still think it would be cool when they unveil that Oilers jersey to have him wearing it. I think that would stick it to the Houston Texans and also just be kind of cool to see. We'll probably have to talk to John McClain about that when that does happen, but it's already kind of leaked out. I think I've enjoyed some of the hype things that the Titans have done. I mean, I'll give the Titans credit with some of the videos and teaser things that they've done. Like the schedule release was really well done, but you've had a couple with like the oil and alluding to it. Like today they put one that was like all the different Oilers helmets, and now it's just kind of like we know what it is, so let's just do it. Other teams have released some of their new uniforms. I think the Colts alternate is awful. I like the black helmet, but the all blue tops and bottoms that they did. I mean, if you're going to do a black helmet, just do a black uniform. I just think that black and blue goes well together. I don't know why you just don't do that, but I don't like the look of it. The Browns Stormtrooper look, I think looks awesome with the white helmet and all white uniform. The Bengals did that last year. I call it the Stormtrooper, but I think it looks really cool because I think a white uniform is clean. That's another thing with the Oilers is I know they're going to do the Love You Blue, but I would love to see a white version too of, a road version, and that way you play Houston twice a year, wear them both. I mean, can you imagine them running out on the Texans field wearing Oilers uniforms and just the hatred that would come out of those stands?
I'd love it. I would love it.
I would embrace it so much. But, you talk about a Stormtrooper look, do an all-white Oilers uniform.
And I mentioned that to a buddy of mine yesterday. I was like, why are they just doing the powder blue, baby blue? Like, I want to see some white Oiler uniform throwbacks. I think
and maybe they are. I don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, maybe we're just seeing a little sneak preview of just the Blues.
Yeah, it could be. And like people have texted in about this and that they don't care about the Oilers, that we're the Titans, and I totally get that. I respect that, but I also respect that you have to look at the history of the franchise, and I think Amy Adams-Strunk has done a good job of that in the last few years, and this started because I think the Texans wanted to be like the Browns, and they wanted to, the Cleveland Browns, that the current Cleveland Browns are not the original Cleveland Browns, even though they have the history. And, that was the right move at the time to award, them the history and let the Ravens basically be an expansion franchise. But in this case, it's the same ownership group. It means a lot to Amy Adams-Strunk to hold on to that history for her dad. And now they're honoring the Oilers. So they've had Throwback Weekend that honors the Houston Oilers, the Tennessee Oilers, the Titans, all in one. And so I think it's going to be really cool because that's a uniform combination that I think is so iconic that it'll be cool to see it back. Now, at the same time, I think it would be cool to do a throwback Titans uniform. It hasn't been that long since they've worn that uniform, but if you're going to honor history and you have the white helmet, then I would understand doing an old school Titans uniform at some point in time.
That would be kind of cool. I mean, before the new stadium gets built, have a throwback 98, jersey, or just a throwback 98 in general, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, 99.
Yeah, 98. Sorry, just 98, 99, whatever.
But I mean, you could do, you could find a anniversary coming up where you could do it.
Right.
I think this current uniform combination too, you could do a white helmet and it would look pretty cool.
Yeah.
So.
I'm intrigued to see what the Oiler uniforms are going to look like because with the helmets, do you remember? I think it was the Hall of Fame game. They were playing the Steelers in preseason.
Yeah.
They did the baby blue Oiler helmet.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's in the fold with all this.
It's going to be a white helmet, I think.
Okay.
So that uniform was the 1960, the original AFL. That was the first year of the Oilers. So that was the OG uniform that they wore, and they did a white version that year too. This is going to be like the traditional 1980s, 1990s Love Ya Blue era with the white helmet, the powder blue top, the white pants with the red, white, and blue stripes. I think it's going to look clean. I think it's going to be just fantastic. The old school numbers, and I would imagine too that even, if they're going to wear it here, they'll even paint the field up like the Oilers, like with the derrick and everything.
That'll be sweet. I will have to ask now that we are talking about the jerseys. I know the Texans are obviously one of the teams to wear them against. Is there any other team in particular you'd like to see them wear, I guess, on a nice Sunday?
Well, if they're going to do more than the Texans, like if they're going to do more than one game, let me pull the schedule up real quick because I think I know what I want to say, but I want to. So I would say at Pittsburgh would be cool because that's such an iconic rivalry. And then at home, I mean, there's not really one that stands out other than the Texans that would be all that. Maybe Cincinnati because that's the old AFC Central, so you could do that. Chargers, that's an AFL team. So maybe Chargers or Bengals. If you're doing two home games with it, then I would say that. If you're going to do a home game and an away game, I would go Houston at home at Pittsburgh.
Okay. I like that. I mean, I'm not going to stay within the AFC, but what about Tampa Bay? They have those creamsicle ones?
Oh, I love that. I love the creamsicle.
Yeah.
Those are classic. That is going to do it for us in Uniform Watch. We will have a lot to react to on Monday, but stick around. Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. Just Willy and D-Mase today. That's next. 102.5, 106.3, The Game.